Welcome, friends, back to the second half of today's session. This 3-day program in Calgary will give me a chance to share more information with you. The song was just playing in Punjabi when I walked in. It is from the holy scripture of the Sikhs, Sri Guru Granth Sahib. It is the song written by the fifth Guru, Guru Arjan Dev. And he is the compiler of the entire Granth. The fifth Guru compiled the whole Granth and put all the messages of the different five masters together. And he put the name of the founder, first master, Nanak, on all of them. So they sometimes refer to as the first Nanak, second Nanak, third Nanak. This is one of the most beautiful poems, and it is very touching. It's my favorite shabd from that scripture. It says, Jo mange Thakur apne te soi soi wo deve. What means, whatever you ask from the Lord, He'll give you that. Some people have said this old statement recorded more than 400 years ago. This old statement has been reprinted in a book called The Secret. Some of you might have read the book called The Secret. The Secret says there is a law of attraction, that if you definitely want something and are convinced that you got it, you will get it. So this Shabad, this song also says the same thing, that if you ask something, not from people, but from the Lord who is inside you, if inside you ask something, you'll get it. Of course, the underlying requirement of both, that you must believe that you'll get it. Supposing you say, I want a certain thing, I want an inner experience, but I am not certain, will it really happen? It won't happen. If you have doubt, neither this law of Jo Mange nor the law of attraction applies. There used to be a yogi, a Swami in India, who lived on the bank of a river, and he used to go to get firewood for his little hut on the other side of the river. Small village. He used to walk on the river, on the water, and would not drown. He would walk on the water and go and bring some logs, carrying them on the water. A man who could do such magical things, who done some riddhi siddhi, some control over powers, psychic powers, that he could use his power to not drown but walk on water, he still needed some logwoods to burn his fire. He did not produce fire by the same magic, but he walked on the water. News about this came to several people, including an American visitor in India. The first time I heard about him was from a minister, a cabinet minister in the government of India, whose name was Jagjeevan Ram. I was working with the central government at that time, so Jagjeevan Ram was my boss. He told me that he heard about this man, but would not believe it. Nobody can walk on water. Especially because a yogi claiming to be a very great practicing yogi who walked on water tried to demonstrate walking on water on a swimming pool in Mumbai. And he gathered so many people with television crews from this country, United States came, from Canada came. They were worldwide thing that we want to see a man actually walking on water. So he came, he charged a fee. Those who sat next to the pool, $1,000 each. Next row, $800, $500. And millions of dollars were collected from the crowd, huge crowd. Especially the media was there. And the man did many tricks. He was showing different kind of tricks outside. Then ultimately turn came, the crowd grew big. Turn came, and he stepped on the water and immediately went under. And they said, oh, he can't walk on the water. But he never came out. Later on we found he had arranged the pool to have an outlet from underneath the door. And he escaped from behind after collecting all the money. This story was well known, so Jagjeevan Ram, my boss, said, it's not possible. They are just tricks. So he said he himself flew to that village. He went and he had to go on by bus, by car, and by foot to reach that village. But he was so curious, he went to the village. And the Swami was outside somewhere. So he sat there waiting for him. So Swami came in the evening. And he saw a big paraphernalia of security and police and a cabinet minister there. So Swami came in and he said, Swamiji, I understand you walk on water every day. And you don't fall into the water. He says it's a question of willpower. If you believe, fully believe that you can walk on water, you will walk on water. If you have a little doubt, you'll drown. So I go with full faith. He said, Swamiji, I've come all the way to see you do it. I've heard many stories. Can you do it? He said, sorry, minister, this morning only my guru ordered me not to demonstrate this to anybody. He said, then I can now know this was untrue. It only happens when you can't know it and can't hear it. But the Swami said, I can tell you, I won't show you. I can't go against my guru's hukam, his order, but I can tell you how it is done. He says, all right. He said, raise your palm like this, raise your hand up like this, and then he lifted his foot. He said, I will not press on your hand, but I'll keep my foot on your hand without pressing on it. So he put his hand, and this man is seeing that his hand is out and his foot is on that hand. He says, now look at my other foot. And the other foot was up in the air. So he said, are you convinced? He said, yes, I'm convinced. Now this story he told me, I conveyed it to some other people. There's a real person. And one American said, I'll go and check it out. And he really wanted to see. He said, even if he just does what he did to the minister, I'll be happy. That he can lift himself with no weight on the hand. That's a big thing. So he went there, and the Swami came, and he reached in the evening, Swami was walking on the water. He saw him. He said, this is real stuff here. So he said, Swami, I've come after hearing a lot about you. I've come from the United States. And how do you do it? He says, willpower. If you believe that you won't drown, you will not drown. Can I also do it? Can I go with you? He says, yes. Stay overnight here. In the morning, I'll go. Come with me. We'll go to the forest together. So he stayed overnight. Next day, Swami got up. Are you ready? So he had a friend of his with him. He said, I am ready. But he told his friend, you know, it's a risky business for me. Halfway down, I might drown. The Swami may take me halfway, and then I drown. He said, look, just as a safety precaution, tie a rope around me. And if you see me drowning, you stretch the rope. If you see me drowning, pull it back, drag me out. So he tied him. The Swami was smiling. He said, come. Swami walked, he drowned. Very first step he went to the water, I pulled him out. The question here is faith such a powerful thing? Is having faith in something so powerful that it can alter the laws of our known nature outside? The truth is, yes, it can. It's very powerful. Only those people understand this fully who have found that what we see outside is being created by us. It does not exist independently from us. We take this reality outside to be really separately created from us. We don't realize if there was nobody to see this reality, there would be no reality. If there was nobody to experience this reality, there would be no reality. We are the creators of the reality at all times, even now. That the reality we are seeing, which has become so real, is coming from inside us, not outside. The same thing we are seeing outside is also inside. The real picture is inside the reflection. We don't look inside. We look outside, say this is real. We do the same thing when we go to see a movie. We go to see a movie on a screen. Nothing is real, it's just a reflection. It's not only reflection, it's a shadow. It's a shadow being cast on the... And yet we say, now what's going to happen? As if something new is going to happen. What is going to happen is already in the film behind us. We don't at that time ever think that what we are seeing on the movie screen is being created behind us, not in front. Nothing is being created in front. If we look back, we'll see there's a projector. And the projector is throwing all that shadow upon the wall. And the projector has a film laden in it, which is all still pictures. They're moving fast enough to give us the feeling it's moving. And behind that, there's a light that throws this. If the light goes off, there's no movie. If the film drops out, there's no movie. If the projector breaks, there's no movie. It's all coming from behind. But we sit looking at the screen, we don't look back. We are in an identical state now. We are sitting a multi-dimensional screen is around us, this whole creation, a multi-dimensional screen. Something inside us is being projected with the light of our soul and the film of our karma on the mind. And we are thinking it's all real outside. But if we turn our attention inside and have a look at what's happening, we'll find out it's exactly like a movie. We take the movie so seriously. People cry in the movie, they laugh in the movie. With all my knowledge, I always cry in a movie. I don't cry in real life. But somehow the movie looks more real to me than real life. Must be crazy. My children, when I go to see a movie, carry extra handkerchiefs for me to wipe my tears. We take it so seriously. There was a young guy in India in a village. He had never seen a movie. He didn't know what a movie was. So some of his friends brought him to a little town and they showed him a movie. In the movie, there is a woman who's going to have a bath in a pond, outside village pond, and she's taking off her clothes, and he gets very interested in what's going to happen. And by the time she's taking the clothes off, a train passes in front. When the train goes, she's already in the water. He went to see the movie 20 times, hoping one day the train will be late. We can be so seriously affected. It's just a shadow. Now, why we do this? An explanation for why we do this, both in real life and in a movie, the answer was given by a Greek philosopher, Aristotle. You might have heard his name, Aristotle, the Greek philosopher. He was thinking differently than his own master, Plato, who was thinking slightly different from his own master, Socrates. Socrates said, this world is not real. It's made from inside. He actually said in Greek that this is a world created out of the world of ideas. If you don't have an idea, you won't see anything outside. He came up with very deep analysis of how we are having what we are seeing outside. He said you have to have an idea first. Suppose, I gave an example. We are sitting on chairs here. Supposing there was no idea of a chair, none of us would be sitting on chairs. The first idea of a chair came. But the idea of chair was only one idea. Chair, something to sit on which is above the ground, or whatever the idea came, we can make something to sit more comfortably. We have made thousands of different types of chairs from a single idea. If idea was not there, we couldn't. Once we found the idea, now we can multiply as much as we like. He says the world of ideas has created all our experiences outside. Therefore, he did not like the idea that Aristotle and Plato were saying that these are useful things to have movies and dramas. Aristotle said drama is very useful. And he said three kinds of drama, or play or movie. In those days there was no movie, there was only stage plays, so they were called drama. There can be a drama which is a tragedy. There can be drama which is comedy. There can be drama which is history. History will depict things as they happened. Comedy will depict things where a man is stupid enough to do comic actions and we laugh. Tragedy is where a man will be so heroic, but some tragic flaw in him make him fall down at the end. So he gave definitions of 3 kinds of drama. But he said this drama is necessary for human beings because human beings are carrying so much of guilt, carrying so much of inner pressures inside their heart. They don't speak out. But when they see drama and they see somebody acting the same way like their own problems, all that excess of emotions goes out. It's a relief for them. Therefore, he called it is a purgation of emotions. That you need drama for purging your own emotions. Movies are helping us in that, according to his explanation. And he says, to get that done, people must think it is real. If they think it is a shadow, the emotions won't go out. They must feel it is real happening there, which he called that they do what he termed a willing suspension of disbelief. Normally you won't believe it, but you willingly suspend that in order to have the effect on your emotions. This world has been created on the same basis, that we are having certain spiritual experiences inside. In order to take the emotional part out, we have a whole world, a whole life of ups and downs, good and bad, high and low, pairs of opposites. This whole world has been created in groups of pairs and of opposites. And it is so designed that unless we have an opposite, we can't have the experience. Looks strange that happiness, why can't we have happiness if we don't have unhappiness? So according to theoretical model, he says that if there is no unhappiness, you will never know what happiness is. Everything is in comparison with something else. And he gave many examples. Supposing there's light, we see the light here. Supposing this light was there 24/7, all the time. Whether you close your eyes, open your eyes, the light is always there, you'll never have seen it. Darkness makes the light visible. There's no darkness, there's no light. It came up that the whole world has been created. That's why when we see such bad things happening, evil happening, cruelty happening, then we see there's such kindness happening, good things happening. Both sustain each other because of the polarity, because of the duality. This is a world of duality, and the dual nature is created to enhance the experience of the other part. So this is a strange world, but why should we have a world of duality in order to have a spiritual bliss? It's again the same principle. In our true home, there is no duality. There are no opposites. There is no time-space. We are in a state of bliss all the time. But how do we know we are in a state of bliss? Only when we have this experience here. By having an experience of a world of duality, we are able to appreciate a world of non-duality. The same principle is being applied even for having the highest spiritual experiences. That those of us who have come here and seen the pain and misery of this world, the pressures upon us, the depressions upon us, those who have seen that, they are the most blissful because they can appreciate what is our true home more than anybody else. According to some writers, they've written the state of affairs in our true home, what's going on there. Now, we can't describe that because there's no time space for us to describe. The mind can't understand anything. But let's put it in a physical term. That's a beautiful place. Our true home, Sachkhand, is so beautiful. It's got so many islands. Every soul has one island. And the number of souls is much more than here. So it's a very huge place. And all of them are dancing. There's a common place where they can become one. They can differentiate and become many. One and many are existing simultaneously, dancing and singing and being very in a state of bliss. According to our understanding of the physical plane, they're in a state of bliss there. And then some of those souls come down like us. We come down, then we find our perfect living masters, we find the way back, we go back to our true home. And we sing and dance like they have never seen before. And they tell us, what's so special with you? You are just souls like us. We are all in bliss, and why are you dancing and higher than us and singing better than us? And we tell them, you don't know what you are missing. They have no idea. This whole question of experience. That's what consciousness is all about. To be conscious of something. That consciousness has created such a variety of experiences, all based upon some principle of pairs of opposites, of being comparison one with the other. And that is why it's so great to feel that higher bliss because we've had this experience here. People say, what was the purpose of this creation? Well, here's the purpose of the creation. You enhance your own experience of where you always are. You enhance that experience by a dreamlike state, by creating illusions and creating a semblance of reality, and then enjoy your own state forever better. What is the easiest way of doing it? So there's a great purpose in this creation. And what's the purpose in creating good and evil and these opposites? These opposites alone let us have an experience here. Today even science is saying, physics is saying that, which is not an animate thing, it's a physics. It's just talking of electrons and molecules and even smaller particles. And it is saying that a negative charged electron, if it happens to meet a positive charged electron, we haven't seen that. But if it does, if it can create, we have created in the lab, we have created electron with a positive charge. When they meet, they both disappear. That means their existence depends on the opposite. Therefore, the belief is that this world in which we live, and I'm talking physics, I'm not talking spirituality. This world we live in has a particular pattern of matter where the electron, the negative electron, always revolves outside in the orbit, and the positive charge is in the nucleus, in the center. The negative charge, the number of electrons can increase, their combinations can increase, the composition of the nucleus can increase, creating different matters, different elements of this matter. But if we have a world where there's a positive charge outside, negative charge in the center, this would be our exact opposite. Because of the experiments we have done, we found there has to be a world like that. Otherwise, we could not exist. So there's an opposite world existing simultaneously. For a long time, the scientists were thinking, where is that world? It must be lying somewhere. They're using their telescopes and they're using far-off systems of electronic telescopes to find out where is the world of opposites. Now they find the world of opposites is right where this world is, but in a different dimension. The two dimensions are overlapping completely, and yet they don't overlap because they are not the same dimension. So we exist. Supposing one dimension moves into the other, everything will disappear. We are existing because the dimensions don't meet. How many dimensions are there? Now that's another big question in physics today. Because current studies allow us to current studies help us to measure, evaluate something called radioactive energies. They can measure how much of measurable energy, which we can through our electronic mechanisms find out, exists. The total measured energy is much more than the matter we have seen. It's not able to match. So we have to bring some theoretical models. So there's some dark matter and some dark energy existing to balance it. Nobody has seen it. That's why it's dark. But according to the calculations of the energy distribution, it has to exist. Same thing about the dimensions. You cannot explain all the measurements done today in space and time without having more than one dimension. The current thinking as of today is there at least 11 dimensions. Not 2 or 3. 3, 4 we already know to create the space-time continuum, or themselves 4 dimensions. And then you add on other dimensions to it. 11 dimensions are needed to be able to explain our own readings today in physics. Some people say, do the dimensions represent the same thing as spiritual experiences inside? To some extent they do. Because sitting in one dimension, we can't know what is happening in the other dimensions. But one physicist, a scientist, trying to explain to laymen what is the meaning of more than one dimension, he says, supposing you go to a bar and ask for orange juice, and the bartender, by mistake, gives you cranberry juice. You take the cranberry juice, it looks like the bartender made a mistake. No, another dimension, orange juice has been served. Then there is no mistake in nature. It's physics. This is not spirituality. They're trying to explain the nature of the different dimensions. You are a human being, and in which dimension are you? You are in one of those dimensions. But you're simultaneously existing in other dimensions also. But your attention being in one dimension, that becomes your reality. If the attention can be expanded to two dimensions, you'll find you are more than what you are, even physically. So when I see these studies going on in science, I wonder how close they are getting to the spiritual belief systems which were recorded thousands of years ago. They tally with them to such a large extent. So current science, which started getting into trouble when they found the quantum mechanics, that was the most troublesome thing that happened. Because they found that the light, if passes through an aperture, by interference it changes. Today they are not talking of light anymore, they are talking of the electron. They are talking the electron, the smallest unit of energy moving around. Is it a particle or is it a wave? This is a question mark in quantum physics. Is it a particle or is it a wave? We know how far the hydrogen atom, the electron, the distance from the center we know. We also know it's going in an orbit. Is it going in this orbit or millions of other opportunities for it to go in different? Which orbit is it going? If you touch the space with a laser beam at the exact point where it is supposed to be in one of the orbits, wherever you touch, it will be there. After that, it will never be anywhere else except there. How can your observation of something change it from wave to particle? Today, it's an accepted thing in science that our observation is creating our reality. They're using this phrase now, which they never used before, that the observer is creating his reality. And to give a scientific explanation, they say that is because we observe everything, so far as visual observation is concerned, through light. And last week, they discovered a new kind of light. I don't know how many of you ever got to know that the new kind of light they discovered. The old light, which used to move at a definite speed of 180,000 miles per second, that light used to rotate on its own axis as it went. The rotation was a fixed number which is a constant integer of 1. They found light which is integer of half, first time. So there's something new going on with the light. And they say the light that comes into your eyes, the eyes twist that light and create the observation. So they're still not sure if something else comes from outside or you are generating it from the twist in your eye itself. One philosopher had explained this earlier. He said, how do you see things? You say there has something, it's a very old question. More than 100 years they've been discussing it. Do you see a tree because the tree is there? Or is the tree there because you are seeing it? Is the tree creating the seeing or your seeing is creating the tree? Which is the cause and which is the effect? For a long time they thought it will be easy to solve this problem because whatever comes first is the cause. Whatever comes later is the effect. So if the tree comes first and then we see it, then tree is the cause. That means the world is the real material existence. But if seeing comes first and then you see a tree, then seeing is real. The first group of people are called materialists. They believe in the existence of solid, real material, physical. The others are called idealists. They believe that we create the material. Which one is true? When they tried to observe which comes first, they made a big mistake of saying, I can bring a tree in front, then you will see. The bringing of the tree is as much as the trees. So they both are visions, both are visual experiences. We want to know which comes first, seeing which happened first. And they have come to the conclusion it is completely simultaneous. The tree and the seeing of the tree are simultaneous in time. Therefore, we can't know which is the cause, which is the effect. They're trying very hard to still find out, does the material world exist? This science. Of course, so far as spirituality, metaphysics is concerned, they found the answer long ago. They found the answer by saying, why are you bothered about the tree outside? Go inside and see how the tree is being created. If you can go into the projector and see what's happening there before trying to study everything on the screen. If you go inside, then you find if there is no tree inside, you never see a tree outside. And the causal direction is from inside to outside. The doctors, people who are doing examination of the physical body, the anatomy of the body, they went further. They said, how do we see objects? Light falls upon the objects in the physical world. We can't see without light. If you make this completely dark, we'll not see anything. So first of all, for seeing with human eyes, you need light. Light will fall, again, elementary science I'm telling, that then near parallel rays from the object will be reflected. If somebody is wearing, say, a blue shirt, the object itself will absorb all colors except blue and reflect blue out of the 7 colors and their combinations of the rainbow spectrum. So what we see is a reflected color that doesn't exist in the object. All the others exist in the object. First of all, we are seeing something very different from what is in the object. We are only seeing what the object cannot absorb, a reflection. Okay, then those things come into the eye. The refractive process of the eye, the aqueous and vitreous humor, the lens in the middle, they draw a picture of whatever we are seeing, and that can be seen. That easily to see, there is a picture of everything we see on the back of the eye, which is the retina. Now the picture is inverted. There's also a question still, doctors are still examining, how do we see things straight when the picture is upside down? It's still not solved, this problem. How do they explain? Oh, we got used to it. That's an actual scientific explanation that we got used to seeing upside things straight up. It may be upside down. Now what's in the picture in our head is everybody's heads are down, feet are up. But you don't like it, so you see it the other way around. Once the picture comes on the retina, what does it do? Retina consists of the rods and cones, one giving the shapes, one giving the color. Okay, so they create a good picture. Retina is nothing more than an extension of an optic nerve from the brain. The optic nerve comes and spreads itself and becomes retina. They are just a part of the nerve. The optic nerve, it creates a vibration. The colors create a vibration which are picked up by the optic nerve, carried to the brain, and the center of the brain, which is the optic center for seeing, catches those vibrations, and we say, there I can see a tree. This is the process. Now the question comes, supposing there is a system in the body to create pictures in the retina, biologically. We still see the tree and everybody else the same we are seeing now. Rest of the process is the same. Supposing there is nothing in the retina, but it's all in the optic center. And the optic center can generate that vibration. We still see the tree and we see everything else the same way. Supposing there is nothing in the optic nerve, but consciousness, which ultimately picks it up from the brain itself creates an image. Supposing consciousness becomes conscious of a tree, the tree will be carried by the optic nerve. There will be a picture, or inverted picture of a tree on the retina, and the tree will be in front. Do we see because consciousness creates, or do we see because the material things exist outside? You can't find an answer by intellectual discussion, but you can find the answer by going into consciousness and seeing, yes, indeed, consciousness does create everything. You get so many answers to very definite scientific conundrums today by a process of going within your own self. It's amazing. It's amazing how much knowledge we have already inside us. We have total knowledge inside us, because everything is coming from there. But we have locked ourselves out into such a partial, small slice of awareness, small slice of, and we think that's our whole world outside. There's much more to it. I am bringing these little facts to your notice because today science is bothered with the fact that experiments are showing that observation is creating our reality. Something that we have known for a long time. Those who meditate upon themselves, those who are withdrawing their attention to their own conscious self inside, know all these answers already. They have seen them, experienced them. So can you all, if you're interested. I personally was a very curious guy. And so my curiosity led to more studies and more discovery. But even if you're not curious, but you think there should be something better than what we are experiencing, it's worthwhile going there. And when we study in religion particularly, almost all religions talk of a nice place called heaven and a very nasty place called hell. It's a very beautiful concept for the priests. They can frighten you with hell anytime they like and get more donations from you. It's a good money-making business to frighten you. If you don't believe this, you'll go to hell. Almost all religions have thrived on this system, that you will go to hell if you don't believe what we believe. If you believe something different, sorry, hell. Do you know, I was studying economics and political systems, and I was studying business management in Harvard University. It's considered to be a big university, known all over the world. So I was very happy I got a chance to study there. But in addition to that, I wanted to study religions. So apart from my own curriculum, I took a study of 11 major religions. Some were smaller, some were very well known. I studied those religions and their doctrines to see there must be something common in all of them. That's what I was looking for, that all religions, the base was all the same. When I see what the founders of religion said, they said, this is the temple of God, this body is everything contained inside. All religions put the whole emphasis on something big inside this body of ours, physical body. Yet when we examine how they are operating, they were more rituals, ceremonies, outside things, which were all different. So I was trying to see, let me see one item which I can say exists in all religions. The only item I could find was, every religion said, ours is the only true one, all others are false. You can imagine from this is the common thing in all the religions. We alone are right, everybody else is wrong. Everybody else will go to hell, we'll go to heaven. Now, I can tell you, if you want to experience what is hell and what is heaven, people have experienced in meditation. Heaven and hell do exist in the astral plane where we don't have physical bodies. Though I can also tell you it's physically possible to make your physical life into hell or heaven also. And many people do that. And people with a lot of awareness, they can make their physical life into heaven. And people who don't can have such relationships, such negativity around them. They spread negativity, they pick up negativity, they make their life hell right here. But the actual existence of experiences we can call heaven and hell are actually existing in the astral plane of consciousness, where you have withdrawn yourself from this body. The next body of self-perceptions can experience those things. They are part of that world. So it doesn't mean they don't exist. They only exist in our minds. but they do exist somewhere which are experienceable. But when you experience them, we find that like other institutions, they are being run by institutions which have souls, like ours. But we say that particular soul running a particular heaven must be God. So we worship him. We don't realize it's one of us. It's just like our soul. Did very good deeds, great lives, charity, helping people, and got into heaven. And became ruler of heaven. Not only is a resident of heaven, became ruler of heaven. So we all worship that. When his time is up, he comes out like us. In the Hindu scriptures, there's a story about one avatar. The most famous avatar in Hindu literature is Krishna, Lord Krishna. And so many people worship Lord Krishna, that he represents our consciousness itself. When he gives the discourse in the Gita, he's talking of our soul and our spiritual. He gives directions how we should find ourselves, our higher selves inside. But when he was young, and he was enlightened from a very early age, and he had a friend whose name was Udo, and they used to be cowherds. They used to take the cows of the village out to pasture. The cows would graze all day, and then they would bring them back. So they were both tending to the cows, Krishna and Udo. One day, this little boy Krishna stops and tells Udo, Udo, look at this little ant crawling here. It's a recorded story. Maybe it's exaggerated, but that's what is recorded, that he points to a little ant crawling, and he says, Udo, it's very difficult to understand a principle called the law of karma. We do not understand how deep the law of karma acts upon us. We think it's just action and reaction. It's not. Look at this ant crawling here. At one time, it was Brahma, the creator of this universe. Another time, it was Indra, one of the large heavens on the astral plane. Today, because of his karma of lives, even prior to that, he's an ant today. And then I went to the place where he gave that discourse, just out of curiosity to see what people think about this. And the people there, most of them working in the farms, working on the fields, they would gather in the evening to sing the praise of Krishna. And they would sing a song. I sat with them. I think maybe they drank something or smoked something before singing that song. So they sang a song, the singing was very loud and it looked beautiful also. The refrain of the song was, Are Udo karman ki gat nyari, said in their dialect, that the nature of karma cannot be easily understood. Karma is something that traps you like nothing else. Because, first of all, intention creates karma and not the action. Whereas we always believe it's our action that's creating a karma. Intention to act creates karma, acting upon it makes it worse. And every action, good or bad, is determined by our own conscience. And once the conscience determines it's bad, we are bound to be punished. Once we determine the conscience is saying it's something good you did, we are bound to be rewarded. We can't escape. And the more bad or good you do, you have perpetuated your stay here. It's one of the greatest traps to keep us continuously in this universe, in the physical world. So we don't realize, then people think, I did some very bad karma, I'm going to now atone for it. I'll do good deeds and wash it out. It can never be washed out. Punished for the bad deed, rewarded for the good deed. People can do such good deeds. A person who has done terrible things and his destiny is recorded because of his karma is 1 month in hell. He could have done very good deeds afterward to get over it. Okay, 1 month in heaven. So he will spend 1 month in hell, 1 month in heaven, and then continue with the rest of his karma wherever he has to be. There is no atonement. That's why You cannot undo the effect of any intention, and we have intentions, so much intentions in our life. We create karma all the time. It's being all recorded on the mind. Karma is always recorded on the mind. And the mind carries that big weight of good and bad, ready for the appropriate punishments and rewards coming up. So this is how life is. We see our life is like that, upside down like that. All karma we talk of. Karma is now understood in the Western countries, US, Canada also. At one time it was thought to be an Eastern concept. I remember I came from an Eastern concept to this country. United States I came. There was a big cartoon of a big fat-bellied sadhu sitting, a yogi sitting with a big bowl around him, and he was serving from there to people karma cola. He would pour it, this karma cola being. They were making, but they didn't understand the depth to which this action and reaction, intention creating an action. According to the Indian scriptures, there are 8.4 million types of species of life forms in which a soul can express itself in experience. 84 lakh, 8.4 million. Out of 8.4 million, 8.3999, except one, are all to pay off our karma. And 1 out of 8.4 is to create karma. And that's human life. When you're human life, you can create so much karma with your intentions that you can take 8.4, almost 8.4 lifetimes to pay it off. You can create karma only in a human life. You can pay it off as trees, as insects, as fish, as fowl, as mammals, dogs, cats, horses, elephants, or angels. Angels of higher ground. God serving us, whom we think they are God to be worshipped. Karma can be paid off in all those forms. It can be paid off in a dream. It can be paid off in life. It can be paid off in a higher state of consciousness in the astral plane. It can be paid off in the universal consciousness of the mind. So you can imagine how much we create. It's not possible for so much karma to be paid off in one lifetime. You create too much. That's another big trap. What happened to the surplus? The surplus goes into a reserve, which we also carry on our mind. So karma has been described as the effective intention followed by action that is called Karman karma, what we do or think about doing. That creates it. Then there is pralabdha karma or destiny, which is a payoff of that karma in the same life or in the next life or many subsequent lives. Then there is sanchit karma, which is a reserve of all that which could not be accommodated in these lives. So 3 types. Karma, the new actions which create reaction, and pralabdha, destiny with which we are born, is based upon past karma, and sanchit or reserve karma, where we added up so much. Even if we try to do all good things and want to be human being, we can pick up something from the sanchit karma to become human. Supposing somebody does all good things in life, charity, good deeds, helping people, that person will go to heaven, will not come back till it has served the term for the good deeds, whatever the term is. Supposing somebody doing all bad things, he'll go to hell. Such people will never come as human beings. Human beings are a combination of good and bad both. Unless we do both, good and bad, we can't be human beings. So never feel bad about it that we are both good and bad. That's how we are here. In fact, there was an American surgeon here, Dr. Julian Johnson. He became a disciple of the same master I had. He was a minister. He went to India to convert people to Christianity. He was working in Calcutta. He just wanted to meet great master Baba Sawan Singh, And he came there to see him, but so impressed by him, and stayed there, ultimately died there, and had huge, wonderful experiences which he recorded. And his experiences, especially about karma, he could see all his past lives up to the caveman stage. He was shocked to see what we have been doing, how the mind has been working. I knew him. I was very young. He was older than me, much older. But we used to walk together, and we used to share some of these experiences together at that time. And he said, I was one of those guys used to tell masters and tell God, please help him, that man is sick. Please help him, that man is poor. Please help these people who have got these negative karmas. What a mistake I was making. I now realize that it's a combination of the good and bad that has given us a human life. And not only is human life the only place where we create karma, it's the only place out of 8.4 million species where we can seek and find God himself. Both go together. That is why it's a great thing to be having a human body, the greatest opportunity out of all life forms. And why is that? Why is it that as a human being we can seek and not in any other form? The reason is it's only in human form that we experience something which we don't experience anywhere else, called free will. The experience of making choices. The experience we can decide which way to go. Free will is an act through which seeking takes place. If you felt you can't decide anything, you'll never seek. Seeking requires free will. Free will is an experience only happening in human life. All other forms of life are living according to pre-programmed instinctive devices in them, and they act accordingly. No other form of life sits and says, should I do it or not do it? Should I do it or not do it? Only human beings. That's why the fact that you have a combination of good and bad karma that gave you human life and gave you the experience of free will is the entry to the door to your own recovery of your own true home, to go back there. So that's why human life is the most precious life. I thought to myself at one time that any higher level of consciousness would be a better state to be in. I have a second opinion on that. I think there is no form at all except the form that we are human beings, or the ultimate totality of consciousness where we are aware of everything. In between, we can have many forms which look much better than here. They are probably better in some ways, but you have no free will. You go into the area of what is called the causal plane, have a Karan Sharir. That means you have a causal body which is only mind. You know everything about the past, present, and future. How can you have free will? If today we know what is going to happen next minute and what's going to happen tomorrow, our free will will go. Free will disappear right now. Human free will exists on ignorance. Because we are ignorant of the future, we think we make choices. But if we go inside, we will find the choice we made was already written millions of years earlier that we'll make that choice. It will also say how we decided to make that choice. We are now here thinking we are making the choice right here. This is a very, very wonderful subject of free will. Do we have real free will or not? People ask, do we have real free will? I can first argue yes. Then I can argue no. Then I can argue above them yes. It depends how I argue. I'm not an attorney though. If you want to know, do you have an experience of free will? Yes, you're choosing right now. A man came to me, I think I have no free will. I said, you just said this out of free will. You could have said, I have it or I don't have it. You made a choice. Again, a friend of mine, once, again at Cambridge, I remember some very interesting experiences. A friend called me in the morning, said, I have found out everything is predestined. We have no free will at all. And therefore, we are mistaken if we think we make choices. It's all written up already. Though he did get into trouble because he began to think, if I have no choice, why am I being punished? Why am I being rewarded? If I have no choice, where is the law of karma coming from? The law of karma says that you choose good or evil and then you are rewarded or punishment. If I have no free will at all, why am I suffering like that? Why am I being rewarded like that? At the most he could say, I don't mind the reward part, but why don't I get punished? He called me. I have found out. I said, come over. I used to call them to my apartment for discussions. Come over, let's examine if you have free will or not. He came. I took up a tray and put a cup of coffee and a cup of tea and an empty cup, just to test. When he came in, I said, will you have tea or coffee or nothing? I have all three here. And don't use free will, you don't have any. Now tell me what you want. He was stumped. I said, whatever you will say now is use of free will. And how did you come to the conclusion you don't have free will? Here you have to pick up now, you have to choose. You can say, I don't want to choose, still free will. You want to choose coffee, free will. Tea, free will. Nothing, free will. How are you avoiding free will? You say I have no free will, I am saying you have all the free will. I am saying you can't escape free will. You are talking as if there's a choice of free will. There's no choice on free will. You have to use free will all the time, every day. He said, I thought I had attained enlightenment about free will. You destroyed it with a cup of coffee and tea. I said, now I'll take the other side, that you really have no free will. And I will not go into the spiritual process. I'll explain it scientifically. I said, when people choose between tea and coffee, it's a process of choosing in the head, in the brain. After all, something happens in the brain to make you choose. You look at tea, look at coffee, then you say, okay, coffee. What makes you say that? Only two factors of choice operate in your head. One, your dad might have liked coffee. Granddad might have liked coffee. It's in your genes. It's a genetic thing that you are appreciating coffee more than tea or other things. It could be hereditary. Second could be you have been with coffee drinkers. So you acquired the taste for coffee. There are all the factors which can make you choose tea or coffee are either hereditary or acquired, up to the point when you're making a choice. And do you know, you can neither change the hereditary nor the acquired. Therefore, if anybody could read your hereditary factors and they would have told, before you could take a decision, you will take coffee because of how you will decide. You really had no free will, but you thought you had. How did you think you had free will? Because you were unaware of what your hereditary factors are. You can't remember them. You can't even remember what the environmental factors were. Therefore, you thought you had free will. There was no free will. He said, that's very convincing, but I am still not sure. Who recorded all this? I said, now I'll take another view, the spiritual view. Who recorded all the destinies? The creative power, the creator. And you were part of the creator. I'm saying part because you don't understand that you are the whole creator, but then you'll question why are so many whole creators sitting here. So we're calling the part of the creator, but there's no part of the creator, so one creator. One creator expressing itself as the many. You could look at a number of mirrors at the same time. You're one person standing, you can see 100 images. And if the lens's curvature of the mirrors are different, you will see different forms also of your own oneself. That's how we manifest ourselves as many. So I said, the ultimate writing of the entire destiny was done by you yourself, in your true self. But the covers upon you make you forget who your true self is. Therefore, you have free will. That was real free will. When did the creative power write it out? Let's say God wrote it out. And that's another question. People, when they discuss free will, are also encountering a religious problem there. Because religion says, all religion says, that God, the Creator, is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. He's present everywhere, He's all powerful, and He knows everything. Now, if you want to make a decision, does God know it or not? If He knows, then you will do what He knows already. There's no free will. And if you can do something different from what He knows, He is not an omniscient God, then dismiss Him. So, on religious grounds, you can't help but believe that there can be no free will if it's God's will. All your will is part of God's will. Therefore, it's predetermined completely. But if you can prove that your soul is integral part of God, has never left God, is still participating from there in this whole creation, then the free will is real because you are free will. So depending upon the vantage point from which you look at it, you'll find free will has been created as an experience, created from the top, and appears real here, but it's other areas of experience it's pre-recorded completely. There's another interesting fact about free will or predetermination. Everything is pre-written. Our entire life is pre-written. Somebody is sick. He says, my sickness is pre-written. I did something bad in my past life. I'm sick. Goes to his guru, his mentor, his spiritual advisor. Master, I'm feeling very sick. Can't you put some divine intervention and change my luck? He said, okay, here's some prasad, take this. Here's some divine food, take this. He takes it. It worked. Master changed my pralabdha, he changed my destiny. It actually took place. I was so sick, there was no chance of my getting well. I went to the Master, he gave his divine touch, and he had a divine intervention, and so he changed my destiny. Whoever says destiny is pre-written should remember, divine people can change it. Then this fellow meditates and goes up and finds pre-written. Maybe millions of years earlier. One day you'll be very sick, and you'll ask for divine intervention, and divine intervention will change it. It didn't happen then, it happened earlier, also pre-written. Even the divine intervention was pre-written. So then the man goes to that level, says, Master now intervenes and really changed my destiny. I am gone up to the causal plane where my Akashic records, my Akashic records are sitting. All my total destiny is written for all lifetimes. Just plug it out and put another one. And the divine intervention changes all that. You say, now I know one can change destiny at least at a high place in consciousness. Then you go to the higher plane, the change of the destiny was also pre-written. So it's at different levels, it appears our feeling of free will creates certain things, and we feel another divine thing can change. When you go to the top, everything is pre-written, including how we make choices. But then the advantage is that this experience, it's only an experience of free will. It's not real. If you go to the top, you'll find it's not real. Everything is pre-written. But the experience of free will generates a possibility to seek and find. That's why it's so useful to have this experience here. That the experience of free will, no matter how unreal, in reality it may be at the top, over here it's real and it works because we can seek and find the way back. What about karma then? If we have no real free will, what about karma? What about our soul? Why does the soul have karma? The truth is, soul has no karma at all. No soul, our reality has no karma. In what we are really has no karma. Karma is created at the same time. When we believe that there is free will, karma is created at the mental level. Karma is carried by the mind, created by the mind, paid off by the mind. It's a mental activity. When we rise above the mind, there is no karma at all. It's only part of the experience we are having while we are using a mind. So the perfect living masters come here to take us beyond the mind. They don't come here to make our lives better. They don't come here to start a new campaign for change in society. Lots of people are doing that. They don't come here for any other purpose except when we are seeking something beyond the mind. They come and take us out of the mind. Their mandate is very clear. You are a seeker of something beyond your mind, your true home, a perfect living master will appear in your life. How will he find me out? He can find you out. If he knows everything, how will he not find you out where you are? That's a minor thing. But how will he appear in the laws of this nature? He'll appear through coincidence. Now, coincidence is something happening against the law of probability. It will be looking like, I didn't expect this happen, and it's happened. I was thinking of something else, and something else happened. I was driving on my car, and I saw a poster, a hoarding, about some ad. And 2 words of the hoarding were exactly my question of the morning. These are coincidences. I opened a book at random, and the very first line referred to what I was thinking earlier. These are coincidences. A perfect living master appears in our life with a coincidence. We can't look for him. You can't find him because it's too ordinary to be found. He's just like us. Therefore, seeking is the secret. Seeking with love and devotion, which is the real key to go beyond the mind. Meditating to discover your inner self with love and devotion. Ultimately, you will find that the whole summary of the spiritual path can be put down in 2 words, love and devotion. That's spirituality. That's what I found. Spirituality is love and devotion. Why 2 words? Why can't we make it only 1 word? We can. Love. Why 2 words? Because love pulls us. We don't love. Love pulls us. Our response is a devotion. When we respond to love, it's devotion. And that's exactly what happens when we come across these perfect living masters and experience personally their unconditional love. We are pulled by that. Then we want to be pleasing them, being devoted to them. So devotion is a response that we give to the feeling and experience of pure love. So that is why we call it love and devotion. So love and devotion is the secret. I know many of you have asked me for personal time. So I will pause right now and take a little time out with those who have given their names. Those who want personal time, if you have given your, what we used to call interviews, somebody said interview is not a good word, use personal time. Interview looking for a job. No, you're not looking for a job. You want to spend some time asking some questions which may be in your mind, or maybe an answer that you want to give to something I questioned. So our personal time is for sharing views on our experiences. So those who have asked, I think Hitesh, you have the list? Yes. Okay, I'll close this meeting now. I'll give some personal time today. Those who can't see me today, I'll see them tomorrow. And all of you here, I will see you again at 11 o'clock tomorrow. And if any one of you would like to join me on meditation, we can do that tomorrow. How many of you would like to do actual meditation and not merely hear my talk? Good number. We qualified for a session of meditation tomorrow morning. And I'll see you then at 11 o'clock.